Testing, testing, testing. There we go. Good. Hello, everyone. We are going to start in 2 minutes, so please get yourself some lunch and grab a seat, and we'll start in 2 minutes. All right, everyone, we are going to get started. First of all, thank you all very much for coming to SFU's Lunch and Learn. My name is Laurie Anderson, and I'm the Executive Director here of the Vancouver campus. And I want to welcome you to SFU Vancouver's Lunch and Learn on behalf of all of us. This is a first in a couple of ways for this particular Lunch and Learn, excuse me, because this is the first time we've actually held an event, Lunch and Learn event at SFU Vancouver, SFU here, this building here, which is great because the topic, of course, is very relevant to this location here. Second thing is the first time we've also presented Lunch and Learn in a hybrid format. So we'll be doing it. There are people on YouTube live stream who are watching us, and of course, there's all of you here today. So thank you all for coming. Now, the university has many locations distributed across the downtown. All of them are on unceded Coast Salish territories. So I want to thank our three host nations, the Squamish, the Musqueam, and the Tsleil-Waututh, for sharing this beautiful part of the world with us. So my job is just to explain the purpose and format. I'll introduce the guests and we'll get going. So the purpose of Lunch and Learn, we've been doing this for several years. The purpose of it really is to take a look at issues that are relevant to people in the community and bring together the expertise from people inside the university and in the community to explore the topic. The format is very simple. I'll introduce the guests in a moment, and they'll talk about the topic till about 12:30, and then we'll open it to you in the room to ask your questions. When we get to that point, please raise your hand, and we'll come around with a microphone so all of us can hear you, and the people online can also hear you as well. So that's it. So let me introduce our guests. But again, on behalf of all of us, thank you for taking the time to be here today. So our guests, I'll start. Oops. All right, Aliyah Sunderjee. Welcome, Aliyah. Aliyah is a social entrepreneur, an educator, and a systems strategist. And Aliyah works at the intersection of community development, social enterprise, and inclusive economic design. Aliyah has her own social enterprise called Love of the Grub, and you can ask her more about that. She's working on her MBA at UVic on sustainable innovation, and Aliyah works at SFU's Radius program. So please give a welcome to Aliyah. Thank you very much, Aliyah. This is, of course, a very condensed introduction to people. We can learn so much more about these people online. Second person, no stranger to SFU, is Landon Hoyt. Landon is a dedicated community leader with deep experience supporting economic development and poverty reduction. Landon has been the executive director of the local BIA twice. The local BIA is Hastings Crossing Business Improvement Association. And in that capacity, he did the role from 2015 to 2018. And he's back. He's been doing the job since 2023. Landon has worked extensively with SFU in various ways, including with SFU's Public Square and with the very successful Binners project. And Landon also does public engagement projects with the Argyle organization. Welcome, Landon. Our third guest is Dr. Gallup Biani. Gallup is a senior public safety executive, an educator, an author, and a policy advisor. Gallup is currently the Chief Safety and Risk Officer for the university, for SFU, and he teaches at the post-secondary level programs in criminology. Gallup has led large organizations across Metro and internationally, and the focus of his work is always in finding solutions that are evidence-based and practical to support public safety and public welfare. So again, please welcome our guests. So, as I said, we'll ask a number of questions that will keep us going till about 12:30. So anyone can start, and the first question is, how do we create a more sustainable, people-centered community in the SFU Woodward area specifically? Who'd like to start?
I'll start us off, Laurie. Thank you. Well, thanks everyone for being here. And I think a lot of the conversation we're having today is, being talked about under the context of some decisions that have been made in the community recently, but also sort of the long-term impacts and challenges that this community has faced over many years. But I think what all three of us, I think, really want to focus on today in our conversation is what does the future look like, and where do we go from here? And so I think to your point, to your question, Laurie, maybe it's obvious, but I think what we really need in this community is balance. We need to talk about safety, housing, economic activity, social supports, all working together. We need a single sort of strategy that really focuses on all of these things together. No single intervention, whether it's policing or housing or a shelter on the street or a block party that we're organizing or anything like that, is going to change everything in this neighborhood and make everything, so to speak, fixed. And so I think that we need to have that strategy together. And the other thing I think is we need to talk about, what does it mean to have a people-centered community, so that people, residents, visitors, workers in this neighborhood are able to meet those daily needs locally. So groceries, services, where are the jobs, the social connections, which I think are hugely important in this community space for that. We've got to talk about what that looks like for people on the ground. And I think a big piece of that is also choice. We need people to have the ability to choose which open storefronts they're wanting to go to, which active streets they want to walk down, rebuilding that sort of normalcy for people in the community. We'll talk about this later, but one of the main things that I think is an example here is we've lost a lot of daytime drop-in spaces in this community, and what that doesn't just mean social service drop-in spaces run by nonprofits. That also means affordable cafes that people could buy $1 or $2 coffee, spend time with their friends, and not be on the street, right? I think that's a huge piece of it. And so helping to fill empty storefronts with businesses and services that this community needs will create major change in this neighborhood.
Please go ahead. We'll have questions at 12:30.
Just kind of building on that is kind of looking at our community as being deliberate in being able to shape the community that they're in, beyond just like consultation, but meaningful kind of participation in the design of the city, of the communities that they're building, and so that they're not just looking at them as recipients of services, but really like as creating the change that they want to see in the communities that they belong in, kind of like agents of change, of delivering those services that they really need. So meeting the services that they need, but also being able to see themselves in the communities that they reside in. And I think that's deliberate. It takes a long time. It's relationship oriented. And I think this is a really pinnacle moment of doing that, is that long, deliberate, kind of relationship oriented. Kind of looking at them as not as just like, I'm going to consult you, but I'm going to actually remunerate you in the same way that I would for other services or other services providers, and looking at them to really be able to shape the fabric of the communities that they reside in.
Thank you all for being here today and for allowing us to speak with you. I want to just commend SFU kind of writ large for opening their doors, because as Landon alluded, the doors are closing elsewhere. SFU's opened up our doors for those that need safe space, including the Burnaby campus. You'd be surprised at how many people show up overnight where they can stay warm, stay dry, get a little bit of help from people up at the campus there, and come back here, and they're not assaulted while they're sleeping. SFU's opened up the doors down here during cold days, hot days, rainy days, so I have to applaud that. I recognize Laurie and his team for that. I also want to bring you back to a meeting I was at not too long ago, and it really comes down to a vision, really a vision for what do we want to see here. I went to this meeting where they talked about communities across British Columbia, and I'll just read you. This is from the Union of British Columbia Municipalities. These are communities similar to ours, asking the government for, what's your plan, what's your vision, what's your plan? Maple Ridge, asking for help with long-term supported housing. Castlegar, Trail, Nelson, asking the government for strategy on rehabilitation, homelessness, and public safety. Parksville, asking the government for help around mental health and addiction resources for youth. Squamish, asking for a safer, welcoming community and a plan from the government on supporting them with that. Nelson, asking for a regional approach to homelessness. And Chetwynd, asking for wraparound supports and second stage housing for individuals in recovery in rural northern communities. So I have to go back and say, if we're talking about, my lens is public safety. Public safety doesn't come without housing. It doesn't come without supports that people need when they're in crisis. Without that, there is no public safety. Public safety also requires safe spaces. So I turn back to the broader question, what is the vision for down here? And if we have a vision needs a plan. What is that long-term sustainable plan? So I'll leave that with you to think through while we go through the panel here today.
Thank you all for that opening. By the way, I neglected to say at the beginning that the context of this building here in this neighborhood, the SFU Woodwards, some of you may know that we opened here in 2010. And at that time, there was a vision for this neighborhood. And it was a vision that would be a neighborhood for people of all income levels. It'd be a place where you could live, you could socialize, you could stop, shop, and you could study. And that was a vision that was held by a number of people, but probably no one more, or more prominently by the late Jim Green. Jim Green played a big part in this whole development taking place here. He was not only a city councillor, but for a very long time, he was a dedicated, tireless advocate for the downtown east side. So that's why we're looking at 16 years on, where are we going from here? So the question I'll ask now is one of alignment. So you've all kind of alluded to the notion of we need better services. So how might we align these various services that we need in the SFU Woodward area to better meet people's needs? So who'd like to start with that as a general one?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead, Lonnie.
So it's good context that you bring that up. Shortly after this building opened, there was the Downtown Eastside Plan, which was finalized in, I believe, 2014. And, you know, a lot of that vision and overarching strategy for alignment in this community was in that plan, and technically we're still under that plan today. And there have been some recent decisions just launched in January, you know, more flexible zoning policies, things like that to really activate vacant storefronts quickly, and that can help drive foot traffic. And I'll also mention that we did a research study at Hastings Crossing with SFU actually about a year and a half ago around what are the commercial and service needs that this community really needs. And, you know, rising to the top of that list were things like affordable social spaces and affordable one-stop shop retailers like London Drugs or Army Navy, things like that. And so what we're looking to do as a BIA is try to build the conditions so that businesses like that will locate and stay in this community. You know, I have a lot more to say about that, but I think that's you know, really part of the conversation.
Before we move on, Landon, you talked about we go to the BIA meeting, you mentioned that. How is that program going? You've started about getting temporary use of these spaces. How's that going? Yeah, so
it's a city-run program technically, but we wrote the motion for it and helped get it passed at council and worked with senior staff to roll it out. It's been active since mid-January, and at last I was told by the city there's been 2 confirmed sort of businesses that have gone through the process, and at least a dozen or more sort of in the pipeline to go through, which is actually quite notable because the reason we launched this program was because if a new business wants to come in, say it's a retailer and the former space was a different use, so a restaurant or a barbershop or whatever, they'd have to maybe wait 6, 10, 12 months for that use to be updated and switched by the city and all the inspections to be done. So this was a way to get them in the door quicker while they wait for some of those longer term permits to happen.
Yeah. Right. Alignment. Aaliyah, what's your thinking?
I mean, I'm very much of like, so I'm a social entrepreneur. I've had a social business for about 7 years. I no longer run that business because I have children and I moved on to other things. But one of the things that was the biggest barrier for me was space. And retail space and shared spaces and shared community kitchens. These are places where we can test and iterate things that we need in our community that are accessible for people to kind of walk into and share their cultural food, share their cultural art, to be able to be in the fabric of the community that they're in. And, for 7 years, it was just a very, very difficult ride to be able to get retail space. You need access to funding for, this waiting till you get your permits, and then, the enormous leasing amount that you have to pay. And then on top of that, being able to break even and be able to sell your goods. And you want to try to do that at an accessible price, but you can't because the prices are so high. And so I think looking at accessible spaces is something that would really help a community flourish and thrive, by looking at what does community need, including them into decision making, and being able to have kind of like shared spaces, cooperative spaces, places that we can test and iterate and be able to move into communities and provide some of those things that we need for dignity and access that this community really needs. And so, I really ring through is like, that's something that I feel like it's something I faced for so many years. It's something that I support a lot of entrepreneurs. So I work at Radius SFU, which is just not too far from here. I work with community to be able to, incubate their products, their services, their interventions, and space just keeps coming up over and over again as a barrier. And if we can address this, we can not only help with economic liberation for those communities that have been historically marginalized and not included, but also they can come up with products and services that the community needs too. And so it kind of is multi, kind of like a solution of being able to have accessible, inclusive spaces.
So that's a little bit of a theme starting around just access to space people can afford to get things started. Gallup.
Yeah, and I'm a refugee to Canada. My family came here from Uganda many years ago, and we didn't get to pick where we wanted to live. We were told where we were going to live to populate this country that was half the population where it is today. And I remember us, a family living in co-op housing. Where has all that gone to? Where is that opportunity to, when we talk about space, we need to define our space. Is it a condo with a swimming pool and a gym in every building? It can't be that way. There has to be an understanding of space. I'll turn to what Landon here just said about also setting the conditions or building the conditions for the use down here. Part of that is community safety. If retailers are losing money, and I know London Drugs has lost a lot of money, and people say that's their big business, they can afford to do that. But small businesses like JJ Bean cannot. We need to build the conditions for them to be here. If we talk about alignment, I'll just kind of, again, take this conversation and just pull it out a little bit here. Absent a coordinated, aligned approach from all 4 levels of government, including our First Nations, we will not succeed. This area, the downtown east side, and I live not far from here, just on the edge of the downtown east side, I raised my family there, is resource rich. I don't think anybody will dispute that. There are more resources down in a few city blocks here, all with their own executive director, their CEO, their own leadership that are making, whatever the salary dollars are, but they're not aligned. We could certainly consolidate some of that. We can look at a better coordination. I will also say that we hear the term defunding the police, and I'm going to be the guy in the room that's going to say this. It's not about defunding the police. It's about refunding all the other organizations that were stripped of their funding over the years. And as a result, the police have had to do other people's jobs, quite frankly, everything from our social workers to our teachers to our nurses to our counselors. Those organizations, those agencies need to be refunded and refunded appropriately so they can continue doing that work to make it safer for the people down here to live, work, and study.
So a couple of themes coming out of that there, folks. A question, one of the things we talk about, a popular phrase right now is seizing the moment or taking advantage of this particular time. If we were to do that here in SFU, Woodward's area, but obviously writ large across the downtown east side, because presumably the needs are similar, how might we do that? So if you think of the ideal years ago was the notion of a humane, bustling, dynamic, compassionate place where businesses could grow, where people could live, where people could come together. And the question is, to what extent is that vision being realized? And what could we do to make it optimal and make all of that happen? So if you could wave a magic wand and make that happen, how would we do that? Just to seize the moment, to make this the place we want it to be.
I have a whole list of things.
Go for it. That's why you're here, Landon.
If you know me, I'm very much a glass half full kind of person, and I have to be that person in my job and my daily work to really make it happen the way that it does. And so, it's interesting to frame it this way, because I do really think that, this moment can both be a warning and an opportunity. A couple of the factors I think that are presenting this opportunity here, our BIA, Hastings Crossing, last year saw a 5% reduction in vacant storefronts, and I'm just talking about ground level storefronts. And that's actually bucking the trend of the city that's continually creeping up a little bit. And so there is something happening in this community. Now, one thing though that we have to be wary of is a lot of the second level, second floor and above offices are still vacant. And so that's something that many of the people that work upstairs drive customers for the cafes and the retailers on the ground floor. And so we do need to pay attention to that and perhaps, form a campaign around that sort of thing to get those empty storefront or offices filled. But I think one of the really exciting projects that I'm actually working with Aaliyah on, who was starting to kind of form the rationale for why something like this is so important, And this is based off of a project that I did 16 years ago, just before I moved to Vancouver. But it's actually setting up a small business incubator. And so we're sort of tentatively calling it the Crossing Collective. But the idea behind the space is that we would lease an empty storefront that's big enough to kind of have a small build out of 4 to 6 businesses inside, stalls, if you will. Not too far off from a small Granville Island or something like that. But the idea would be that we would work with partners like SFU, VCC, and others to have a bit of a cohort model to provide training and supports for these small businesses to be able to enter into the space for a bit of a subsidized lease rate to start with. They're there for 12, 18 months, go through a bit of training, programs, that sort of thing. But the longer term approach is we hook them up with a broker at the end of the day to help them find a space in this community to be able to fill an empty storefront in this community. So the one that I did in 16 years ago was successful in that there was a space of 4. 2 of the 4 actually hatched out of the space into the empty storefront in the downtown that it was in. And I know one of them today is still existing and has a super successful business. And so it's a longer term approach to this, but I think it's something that this community needs. And as far as I know, there's not been this version of it done in Vancouver. There's some similar ideas, but I'm excited to. We're just putting in a grant application this week on it. We've got some sort of a business plan already created, that sort of thing. So it's an exciting project that I think we can seize this moment. Yeah.
And that's that's to the city or
city. We're looking at other funders too, but yeah, if you have ideas, happy to field them as well.
Thank you. Sounds like a great thing.
Yeah, I'm really excited about working on this. I mean, something dear to me in my heart right now as well, and like just the work that I do, and like. So seizing this moment to think proactively, what does community need? What are the gaps? Deep listening, building those relationships, being able to compensate people fairly for their like insights and being able to like be the designers and not just the recipients of services, and taking that moment right now. In this moment of transition, in this moment where we lost a big anchor space that did provide a lot of everyday goods, to kind of understand what is the needs and like taking that deliberate approach through something like an incubator to be able to test things, be able to respond in an iterative way is something that I'm really excited about. Also seizing the moment to kind of acknowledge the amount of displacements that's happened in this community, and how do we look forward to reclamation of space and power for Black and Indigenous communities that were really here before, and how do we include them back into the fabric of what we have here, and like acknowledging that and being able to include them into the decision-making power when we're just pushing people away. And so taking that moment to acknowledge who has been here before on these lands and including them, and also being, iterating, testing, including what people need and want, rather than kind of just who has access to generational wealth and be able to, lease these spaces, is like, how can we be deliberate in being able to have accessible spaces for things that people actually really need? We want people to stay in these communities and spend money here. That's good for us. It's an economic goal as well. It's a dignity and access goal as well. And so taking this moment and being relational and taking this time to plan well is something that I think that we could do in this moment right now.
Thanks, Celia. Gavin, on that question, what's your thoughts on seizing the moment, taking advantage of it?
I think it's been summarized, but I'll reframe it here a little bit. This is a rare opportunity for us to reset with intent. And when we're talking about some of the models and programs and initiatives we're looking at, there's some intention here. I'd also say that we have to define our purpose early. Spaces that are left vacant, spaces that are left abandoned, evolve, and sometimes they evolve not in the way that we would like to see them evolve, and the uses are not the uses that we would see as appropriate or best for our communities. I'd say that we need to define our purpose early on the spaces around here that we'd like to utilize, and that means that what is the space meant to be? What do we want it to be? Who's the space for? We really need to think about that. Who is the space for? The loss of London Drugs, our seniors are being impacted by that. The seniors community, those with accessibility challenges, have been impacted in getting their prescriptions and their mail and a whole bunch of other things there. And the last thing I'll say is what supports and structures are needed to sustain it? It's easy to feel space. How do we sustain space and sustain it in a way that's compassionate? We don't want to come back to space 3 years later because we haven't looked at it from a compassionate, holistic, inclusive lens at the very beginning. So, I'll stop there, Lori, in the essence of time, but I think that we have a moment right now to reset with purpose, and I think I'm hearing that here right now.
Right. Thank you. One more question to each of the panel, and then I'll ask them to sum up, and we'll get you involved. So I said at the beginning, the context is we want businesses to flourish. We want the community, people who live here to flourish. We want workplaces. We want institutions like SFU. We want them all to work together in some integrated or harmonious way. So given that, what kinds of processes or structures would we need to embed to make that happen? Much more than they are right now. Or policies, how you interpret it in whatever way you want. Structures, processes, policies.
Yeah, I mean, something that I think we are lacking currently is a strong economic development strategy for this area of the city, and the whole city for that matter. There was a component of that in the Downtown Eastside Plan in 2014, but I think, it can be built upon to create a more formal strategy that we can all be steering in the same direction. And I think that includes, anchor institution policies, local hiring, local procurement, pathways to employment, all the things that many of these organizations, like you talked about, Gallup, are doing in this community, but having sort of that common playbook to work off of, I think is really important. And something that, going back to the seizing the moment thing, there's a group called the Community Coordinated Response Network, CCRN, which is active and meets every Wednesday since 2020, since COVID started, to address common needs and advocate together. And it's very different, diverse groups that join that call every Wednesday morning, but including groups like BIAs, but also are working toward common goals in the neighborhood. And I think that's, again, seizing a moment opportunity here that we are somewhat aligned more than we ever have been.
In this group, CCM, is it referred?
CCRN.
And are they eclectic? They don't belong to any particular organization? Or?
They've got a bit of admin support through one organization, but that's purely just to organize the meetings and that sort of thing.
In London, are they relatively new? Is this
Since 2020.
Okay.
So yeah, 6 years.
Okay, thank you. Aaliyah.
I think conversations like this is really important. So I really commend your team for even having this conversation and to bring around diverse voices and perspectives together. Having time and space for collective visioning and dreaming together is really important. I really love this example because we can't just do it once and then forget about it. We have to continually come together. And, people who are here already, the businesses that are here, we need their voices, we need the community that's here, we need to be able to, be deliberate and consistent with this and be able to seize a moment and be able to collectively dream and collectively build and collectively be aligned. And even listen to those, the minority of the wisdom. There's wisdom there that we also need to tap into. We need to come together, really, and align around what is the priorities, what is the shared vision, because we need everybody to kind of come together from multiple levels to make this work. So I think that's kind of something.
Thank you.
I'll bring the conversation down to the operational from the strategic and the vision. We need policies and bylaws and permits and permitting processes that work. When we have a vision, we have an idea, we have some creativity, there's a blockage, and the blockage usually is an outdated policies, systems that are putting these roadblocks in front and drawing things out. So I think there's an opportunity here for you to engage with your upcoming civic election and hear what they're saying, what the next round of councillors and mayors are saying about this neighborhood. This neighborhood is not just about policing. This neighborhood is not just about Woodwards. This is a whole neighborhood that we're talking about. Ask what the vision is. What is the plan? How will it be sustainable? And how are you going to help us do this instead of talking about it? Thank you.
Thank you. So Landon, Aaliyah, and Gallup, thank you. We'll come back to you, and I'll thank you again at the end, but thank you for this portion of this. Thank you so much. So what we're doing now is we've got people with microphones, and if you're ready, you could raise your hand and ask a question. And yeah, you can sit down. It's okay, we'll come to you. So, okay, we have a question here, so let's get started. And again, if you have a question afterwards, please raise your hand. We'll be glad to try and answer it.
At the street level, obviously, none of this has ever worked. So what do you think has been a failure, and what are you prepared to change rather than simply rebrand and repackage and then send it out for another failure?
Like, we've been doing this for decades.
Right. So like, the gist of your question.
Obviously, you're not going to get your honorariums at your societies if we stop funding the machine, right?
So Laurie, maybe I'll just jump in here. Can I ask where do you work or live in this neighborhood?
Well, it's not about me. It's
okay.
about the community.
No,
okay?
fair enough. Okay.
Matter.
Okay.
What are you guys doing?
So let me.
You guys working? What's the work you're actually doing?
Thank you for your question. I will. One thing I neglected to mention is that we don't need any more reports. We've seen a lot of reports in this community, in this neighborhood. Those reports are saying the same things. To your point, we need action. Those reports have got some incredible recommendations on them. I haven't seen many of them action down here. I don't need another report to tell me what's going on down here in the downtown east side. We need to take those recommendations and we need to move them forward. It's as simple as that. So I'll say that. I don't know if my colleagues want to say anything else.
Thank you. But thank you. You're expressing a frustration we feel down here by a lot of people. Aaliyah, would you like to, anything you want to add to that?
I think just not looking at people as just like recipients of services, but like they are going to be like including them in design. They have valuable voices of what is needed in this society, what's needed in this community, and long-term, deliberate kind of like engagement and paid engagement, just the way that we would pay an architect or someone from like a leasing agent, like paying them for their voices because it's important. They live here, they work here, they're in this community, and like I think it's such a disservice to our community to talk to them about like what is your needs, and then leaving them.
That's not an answer. It's a polished response. Okay, I'm looking for an answer. So what has clearly failed from your perspective? What are you prepared to change? That's it. Beside like change, actual change, not repackage, rebrand, and regurgitate for more failure, so you guys can perpetuate your nonprofit honorariums that are issued to board of directors.
You're right. I think yeah, thank you. I get your frustration.
I just want to focus the question.
Yeah, no, I get it. And none of these individuals are getting honorariums, by the way.
You didn't answer the question.
Yeah. Well, just for the record, everybody's answering the question as best they can. So anything else, Aaliyah, you want to say about this? And then we'll be ready for other questions.
And I apologize if it sounds like no intention of mine is to gloss over your very important question.
Yeah.
You know, I care about this community quite a bit. So with my social enterprise Love the Grub, I saw kind of like a cyclical exclusion of refugees from the employment sector. I'm just giving an example. My parents came here as refugees. They faced forced violent migration from Uganda. My husband faced migration from Iran when he was escaping military service. They came to Canada and they were trying to get a job, but people kept saying, you don't have Canadian work experience. You don't have Canadian education. And they kept getting excluded. So something that I did with my own social enterprise is I included them into the design of what is going to create economic inclusion for you, what is going to help break the cycle of oppression where you're just trying to get a job and people keep continually closing those doors. And so asking community and including them into the design is kind of like something that I've been, I think that would be meaningful. It's something that I've been teaching for over 12 years is equity-centered design, being able to include those voices, to be able to disrupt these patterns of exclusion and to be able to like really create sustained change that reflect the real needs of people, because we need a different solution. You're right. Things are continuing.
Drugs included,
Yeah.
but they got stolen from and they left, right? So how long are we supposed to include others before it starts to harm us? Like, what's the line? What's the line where we we stop including people if they're hurting us, right? If people are hurting us, then at what line do we stop including them so that for self-preservation purposes?
Yeah, thank you. If you could just, Landon, do you want to answer this question, then we'll
I
go on
think,
from-
you know, I don't have a hard and fast policy that I could speak to right now, and I think that maybe needs to be developed. But I think what that should look like is including pride and ownership for people that live and work in this neighborhood to be able to take that pride and ownership for this community. And I think that's something that's often lacking. So at the BIA, you know, we try to do things like block party events or lighting in the trees or simple placemaking murals, things like that. But those are things that this community hasn't had before, right? And because no one's taken that effort.
Excuse me, could you please let excuse me a
The
second.
lights aren't stolen because they're
Please
above
let people
ground,
answer the
and
questions.
that they're investments that we're taking because of that reason, right? And so those lead to care for the community, safety on the street, lighting, you know, beautification, those sorts of things, which you might laugh at, but there's something.
Excuse me, excuse me a second. Can I just stop a moment? Just want to say, if you have a point to make, I get it. People are frustrated. But please let the people have come up to speak. They've tried to answer as best they can. So we're going to give other people an opportunity to.
We're looking for words, we're looking for action.
Yeah.
Please be polite.
Yeah.
It's frustrating, and I understand you 100%. Nobody here has a magic wand, and conversation is where ideas at least can come forward. So it'd be great
Okay,
to
just
hear.
answer
I would also say
Yeah.
that we are not the ones that have the power to make these decisions. We are just advocates in this community that are trying to push for change as much as you are, right?
Right.
So, but yeah, just to that point, I think this community often lacks that pride and ownership, or is perceived to lack that pride and ownership, and so when we can do small things like that, and provide opportunity for people to care and take ownership for their community, because sometimes that's lacking, and when people haven't been cared for so many years, they're not going to care for their own community. And I think that's a really important point.
Yeah, and thank you for getting us started with the questions. We get the frustration, and we're going to try and answer as best we can. We've got a number of hands. We have another of hands up, please. So when you're ready, could you, yes, please go ahead.
Hi. Personally, I really don't like poor people. They make me really uncomfortable. So I'm wondering if turning the London Drugs into a police training facility will help us get rid of all the poor people in the area. And if not, is SFU looking to increase security, arm its security guards, or is the BIA working in any way towards protecting people by arming and training security? Thank you.
Yes. So the end, could we just get the end of your question? The first part was, if you could bring the microphone back, please, to that gentleman there. The first part was you were asking about the implications of having this police training academy next door. What will the impact be on residents, specifically poor people? And the end of your question was?
I think I had you too. So if the London Drugs being turned into a police training facility won't help us get rid of all the poor people in the area, what is SFU's security going to do about the poor people? And what is the BIA doing to resolve the issue of disgusting poor people in my neighborhood?
Okay. Can I? Yeah.
Please
I think it's important that we don't label people, first of all. There's a lot of people in this community that are marginalized. You know, sir, you've had your chance. Please let the discussion continue, okay? I think it's really important that we get an opportunity to hear as many as we can today. I think coming to the decision about the training center, a political decision, no doubt. I don't think it's going to impact this neighborhood in terms of making it safer or not safer. You have a training center here. SFU will never arm its guards. I'm in charge of the safety risk service for SFU. SFU will do everything we can to have a trauma-informed approach to the people in the community, to have our guards trained culturally, to be sensitive, and to support anybody that needs our help. And that's the approach that I've taken since I've arrived here at SFU. That's the approach that SFU will take. We will do everything we can to support our external community as well within our space at SFU. So that being said, this thing here is a political decision. No, not mine, nobody here. What it looks like a couple of years from now, that is the result of my comment, that we need something more sustainable that will be here, that's long-term, that will support this community. Not necessarily that, but something else. And what that is something that we can have a conversation about.
I think
Thank you,
also,
Landon.
yeah, so speaking to the training center, you know, agreed with Gallup here, this is a political decision. It's also from what we've been told, only a 2-year project. And so what I want to know from the BIA perspective is what happens next. So I've already had conversations with, the police and the city about getting in a room together to plan for what happens next after that 2-year lease is up, so that we're not sitting here in the same situation as we were several weeks ago, wondering what's going to happen next at the former London drug site. So that's number one. But then also to your point about patrols and security and that sort of thing, our BIA has, since we have started our security patrols in the neighborhood, does not use your traditional security. We work with a social enterprise for this, who are people who are either formerly homeless or formerly, gone through addictions programs or whatever it might be. They have their security certificates, but they have that community sensitivity approach as well. And we've had that contract 12 years now, I believe, and continue to this day to work to ensure that they're taking that community approach when they're responding to safety issues in the community.
Okay, thank you, Landon. Okay, we have a question. I believe the lady at the back's been waiting a bit. Yeah, please go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having this meeting here. I have a challenge I want to bring to this group that's invisible. I don't think we have talked about that before. I'm a resident of Woodward's area, and there is several tenants in my building, and this challenge has risen in about last 2 to 3 years. They are not respecting quiet enjoyment of the tenants. I'm not sure what's going on. Are there mental health issues? What is happening with these individuals? They live on my floor and they're making decisions and actions that are not respectful of quiet enjoyment. As you said, this is a diverse community. I appreciate and welcome everybody. I have been in this community for 10 years. I love the area. I can work with everyone and anybody. And in my opinion, the city has done a tremendously great job in the last couple of years with bringing meetings like this, community barbecue. Last summer we had community events when anybody and everybody can join as they are pleased. But something that has risen in the last couple of years, I have tenants in 120 West Cordova disturbing my quiet enjoyment for some time. And it got worse over the time. I actually, I'm polite. I say hi, good morning. Everybody can go anywhere they want. But this has escalated to the recent event when a few of them, they've been calling Coastal Health, telling Coastal Health that I have mental health issues, which I don't. And I keep ignoring this. We had a situation.
May I ask, so your question is, there's disturbances in, you live in the neighborhood?
Yes,
yes. There's
I just
disturbances in the
yeah.
neighborhood, and you would like to know, what does our panel think about this, or how it should be
how we can address this.
How it may be addressed, okay.
Because the lady was saying she doesn't feel safe, but what she has done, she called Vancouver Coastal Help, and they show up at my door offering me assistance, whereas I don't need any assistance.
Okay.
I mean, not sure what's going on here. How can we address this as a community, as a city of Vancouver? Another point I want to make.
If we could just maybe answer that question, because there's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And I will say in advance, none of us are qualified to talk about your specific situation, but more generally about disturbances in the neighborhood.
Exactly,
Any comments? Not much. Please go ahead. I know you're familiar with the issues.
That sounds like something to be addressed with the strata, in my opinion. But I mean, the city has 301, and our BIA has our online reporting tool, but not for things like that. So I'm not totally sure how to address that necessarily.
Okay. Thank you for asking. Please. Sorry. Go ahead, Aaliyah.
I mean, it's not going to solve the issue right away, but I kind of look at things from a long-term kind of approach. And so I know a lot of the things that, we approach things from the event, the thing that just happens. We're not looking at what's underneath, kind of what's going on for this individual for a long-term solution, because, someone has a disturbance, okay, they call over the police or whoever it is to make them, leave the area, but they come back again. But look at what is underneath it that they need to be able to survive and thrive, so that
Yeah, ma'am, excuse me, we've got about 10 minutes left. Could you take, I'm not sure who was next, but if you can find a hand up, please raise your hand and we'll come round. Yeah, and then we'll come over to the other side in a moment, thank you. So one on this side and one over here.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Landon.
Hi.
So yeah, Landon sees me at CCRN meetings. I'm Kabir. I'm from the Carnegie Housing Project. And hi, Golub. I tried my best to be a pain in the butt to Golub when I was a grad student here, and with the security on campus. Comment and question. Comment being that, just to kind of add on to what Landon was talking about, with the Downtown East Side plan that was enacted in 2014, the local area plan that was amended in December 2025. The direct implication of that around the Woodwards area is that now, under the new rezoning of the Downtown East Side Oppenheimer district, you will have less social housing with shelter rate. So you're going to have a lot more people who cannot afford housing in that neighborhood. You're going to have a lot more people getting pushed out. That is a political implication onto this neighborhood. Right? So it's now a part of my job to analyze this. But as a direct result, you'll have a lot more people who cannot afford rent, who cannot be in spaces that they want to be in. So that's something that you can be orienting your conversation around and policy ideas around. That, okay,
right.
What
So
can
your
SFU
question
do?
from that is what?
The question is, how do we, or how does SFU particularly, as in my opinion, an active gentrifier of the neighborhood as well? Right? That's a very well-known fact. We have been an active gentrifier in this neighborhood for the past 10 years. How do we kind of create spaces that are truly accessible for people who are losing housing and losing accessible spaces further east of, say, Columbia or Corral from Downtown East Side, right? Because we used to have 312 Main as well as a space.
Right. So if I might, at the risk of summarizing what you're asking what is the role of the university in dealing with the issues around housing and the lack of it in the neighborhood? Is that anyone would like to tackle that one?
It's out of my lane.
Yeah, I don't think any of us feel particularly qualified to answer what is the role of the university in housing people in this neighborhood. So if there's no comments, we can.
I will say, in terms of gentrification, SFU has played a role in preserving some of the spaces down here. They've worked very hard to do that. Now, I'm not in the housing space. I'm not in that. That's not my world. But I can say this is that the university has done tremendous work. For example, when we're looking at Nemesis, the coffee shop, and the residents above it and the space around there, we've worked very hard to keep that space, very hard to keep that space safe for our international students. So we have I have a little bit of a role in that. But your question is probably for someone else at the university.
I mean, I can just say, I'm not a housing expert either, but I do think that there needs to be that balanced approach to anything that we're doing. And so, from my understanding, my limited understanding, the math in terms of development and that sort of thing was a struggle to be able to build a lot of this social housing that was needed. And so that, I think, was behind some of the motivation there. And again, I'm not an expert, so don't quote me on that. But, from like the BIA's perspective, having SFU here has been a great opportunity for us to have students in the neighborhood, have customers to businesses, social enterprises, that sort of thing. So I might look at it a little bit differently, but yeah.
Right. You've been waiting a while. Yes, please.
Hi, so I am a student here. I'm here representing the Theatre Student Union specifically, but more generally all of the student unions through the SCA. And specifically regarding the possible introduction of the police academy and more broadly the implications of that for the community, we as a union are wondering if you have any perspective on what we can do as students to kind of either, make our space in the community and just let everyone know our perspective and if we can help at all. That's just our question. Yeah.
Right.
Maybe I can start.
Please go ahead.
So I actually just had a meeting yesterday with the VPD on this, and I think that there's a big opportunity to sort of work with the potential recruits coming in to have them participate in the neighborhood in a way that we, generally speaking, as the community and everyone that's a part of it, want. And so whether that looks like events activating in the Woodward's atrium, like having sort of directing them and helping them help themselves fit into the neighborhood better. There's opportunities there. I also think that, again, from the business perspective, but having them have meetings and purchase meals from cafes nearby and like be really intentional about it rather than just plopping themselves in and kind of shuttering themselves in the training center all day long. So I think there's an opportunity there, and I'm a glass half full kind of person, so I'm really trying to look at it that way. Those are like quick and simple things that they've said to me that they want to do, and so our next step is kind of, okay, here's some options, right? Ways to be involved in the community, good community players, if you will.
So just on that, and this is to the students' question, I think there's mixed perceptions here about the role of law enforcement and people in uniform, and you're saying they're aware of that as the implications of them and the perception of them moving in here.
I think they've heard the criticism.
Yeah. Aaliyah, any comments, or Gallup? No, we don't have. Okay, but thank you for that, and please come and speak to any of us involved. Either are you here the SAA program? Student Union. Okay. Well, please come and ask any of us who work here if we can help in any way. But by the way, when we planned this, the catalyst for having Lunch and Learn here was the closure of London Drugs. We did that first, and about 2 weeks later, after we started to plan this, we found out about the Police Training Academy. We've got time for maybe one more question. So who's the...
Hi, right here.
Oh, yes, hi there. Yes, sorry.
So I suppose it's more of a comment than a question, but I feel like the term community is being used a lot, and that's actually quite a misnomer. I mean, when we say community, that involves us in the room who we're speaking of, and we're mostly researchers, students, policy directors, executive of whatever. That's a very particular socioeconomic class. So as you're talking about installing this police academy being installed, so you can seize the moment, it's being installed, great. We can get more policing, so we can create more space for these businesses that have lower rents because they're in a particular neighborhood. While you're discussing being able to seize the opportunity of that for a particular socioeconomic class, people who are street vending are being cracked down on, and their belongings are being swept from the streets and being taken away from the city. They're trying to run a business too, just of a different nature. So I just wish we would stop speaking of the community and assuming it's in the best interest of the people who necessarily live there and the SROs who reside on the street. I can't even speak of that. I work in the SROs, but I'm not living there on a daily basis. So we're really just speaking on behalf of people and kind of inserting our own interests and packaging it in the way that is a benefit for them too, but I really don't see how. It's just another layer, it's just another form of gentrification wrapped in friendly language.
Yeah, thank you for giving your opinion. We're out of time, so I want to close with a number of thank yous, and please just hold on. We'll only take about a minute. First of all, my colleague Kelsey is in the room at the back. Kelsey is, if it wasn't for Kelsey, we wouldn't have Lunch and Learn, so Kelsey, thanks for all the organization. Secondly, I want to thank our hosts here. We've been invited down to this building for the first time, the SFU Woodward building. Dr. Peter Dickinson's here from the School for Contemporary Arts. Thanks for coming, Peter. And from the people who, from the SFU Live, who actually did 3 things. This is Miles and Zoo, Jilly, He-Man, Justine, and Dylan. They're all here. And they did 3 things. They provided the space, provided the technical support for this, including the live streaming, and paid for our lunch today. So thank you all very much for that. Much appreciated. We have on behalf of the presenters, I can say we don't claim to have any of the answers for this. We wanted to have a forum to start this discussion. And we get the frustration because many of us work in this neighborhood and we know how complicated some of the issues are. My second last thank you is to our panelists. Thanks for taking the time to be here today, each one of you. Much appreciated. Thank you. And finally, to all of you for taking time out of your day to be with us, thank you so much for being here. Please keep in touch. Another Lunch and Learn will be coming up soon. Thanks for your time.